He's U.S. Air Force retired. I believe he was a colonel, and he is now executive director of the Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty. Ron, did I get all that right?
Actually, a U.S. Army retired, not Air Force.
My apologies.
No worries.
But you are. Tell us about the your organization.
Sure. Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty was started a couple of years ago in response to the president repealing the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. We're an organization of chaplain endorsers. We're the ones who provide chaplains to the military. And those of us who come from evangelical, Bible-believing backgrounds started meeting to discuss what the chaplaincy was going to be like in this new world when our commander-in-chief was turning our military into a social experiment. And so we eventually decided to form an organization. Our endorsers speak on behalf of some 2,700 uniformed chaplains. That's a little over 50% of those currently serving in our military. And so we now speak to members of Congress, to the Department of Defense, about issues impacting chaplains and the ministry to those they serve, and to make sure that that our young men and women in the military are able to serve in the military and exercise their religious liberties that they are protecting. That's of grave concern to us, Tim.
Ron, tell us something about what's going on up at the Air Force Academy, especially as regards those 4 words, "so help me God." That has somehow become quite controversial.
It has, unfortunately. The Air Force Academy produces a handbook for their cadets, and in that handbook are the various oaths that cadets take, becoming a cadet at the Air Force and then eventually becoming an officer in the Air Force. And we discovered that in the handbook they had omitted the words, "so help me God," at the end of the cadet oath and the officer oath, even though in the officer oath that's law. It's in the law. Those words are there. Now, it's always been understood that if an officer, for whatever reason, could not say those words, he was permitted not to say them. But they were there. And the Air Force Academy, producing their handbook, did not include those words. And when we found out about that, we put in a Freedom of Information request, and what the Academy's response was that it was a printing error oversight. Now, it has been a printing error oversight for 3 years in a row. And that is of great concern to us that someone in leadership at the Air Force Academy made the decision to remove those words. We know that Mikey Weinstein and his organization that promotes so-called religious liberty from his standpoint complained to the Air Force Academy about it. And so we're wanting to get some information. The Air Force Academy has still not given us documents related to that per our Freedom of Information request, but we are pressing them to find out exactly how this happened, when it happened, and who made the decision to remove those words. So our organization, along with a few others in a coalition that we're part of, put up a billboard right outside of the Academy that to remind cadets that their prior commander-in-chiefs from George Washington and many others said the words, "so help me God," and they, as current cadets, have every right to say those words when they take a solemn oath of office.
Talking to our guest and Dr. Ron Cruz, who's the executive director of the Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty. How many members do you have?
Well, like I said, we speak on behalf of about 2,700 uniformed chaplains. We're an organization of endorsers. So we invite anyone to join us as a partner in our ministry. They can go to our website and find out information about us. But our members are basically military chaplains. and the endorsers who provide military chaplains to the military services.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's the goal of the Obama administration just to get rid of chaplains, or just to make them all universalist?
Well, I asked a member of the House Armed Services Committee whether that was possible, and they assured me that at least our current Congress, that would never fly. They would not allow that to happen, and for that I am grateful. Particularly the leadership in the House have stood solidly by our chaplains. But our concern is for instance, early on in the process, one general officer did a briefing at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to soldiers about the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell and embracing soldiers from homosexual backgrounds. And one of my chaplains that I endorse at that briefing said, "Sir, will those of us who believe Scripture concerning homosexuality as a sin, will we be allowed to continue to speak that?" And the general officer turned to him and said, "Chaplain, if you can't get in line with this policy, resign your commission." Now, right after that, he called me, and I told him, number one, you're not going to resign your commission, and he did not, and he continues to serve to this day. But that is of grave concern to us when leaders are so intent on making our military into a social experiment rather than doing what our military was designed to do, and that's to protect our nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Well, listen, what's your website?
ChaplainAlliance.org.
ChaplainAlliance.org. Listen, Ron, thanks so much for your time. We wish you the very best, and please keep us posted.
Thank you, my brother. God bless you, Tim.
Okay. Appreciate the work there of Dr. Ron Crews, Crews, and